after that นะครับ when you just like group the task already นะครับ it will be easy for you นะครับ to see that okay the task นะครับ it can be like big task and sub task in it นะครับ you see in the Gantt chart later on after that นะครับ you have to identify task pattern นะครับ as a step number 2 นะครับ for the task pattern from the task that you identify in the previous stage นะครับ you have to understand the basic idea of task pattern first before we can do that นะครับ so what are task pattern นะครับ large or small tasks depend on each other must be performed in a sequence not unlike the command in the software program นะครับ task pattern can involve dependent tasks multiple successor tasks and multiple predecessor tasks นะครับ how do we gonna identify task pattern นะครับ the things that you have to do is that you just like use a box นะครับ in order to represent each task นะครับ just as I show it in this slide นะครับ we use task box format นะครับ we draw นะครับ a box to represent a task in this box it consists of 5 parts that you have to know นะครับ the first one นะครับ the top one the big one you just write down the task name for example นะครับ order marketing materials นะครับ you just write down the task name like that นะครับ then start day or date นะครับ in this one if you have the what to say if you have the what to say the start day นะครับ if you know the exact date you write down the date for example if you say that this task start on the 1st of December นะครับ you don't write down the text format like this นะครับ normally we don't write like this we don't like นะครับ not this way นะครับ but the way that we write is okay we write in a short form because we have when we just like combine them together it is easier to see นะครับ next if you don't know the exact date that you start you may say that okay start from day 1 นะครับ you write down number 1 นะครับ so you know that is day 1 นะครับ task ID นะครับ task ID here we refer to the task ID that we had นะครับ on this list นะครับ this is task ID นะครับ after that นะครับ apart from task ID what else finish day or date if you know the date that you can finish for example if we say that okay this task lasts just 1 day only นะครับ you may say that okay 01/12/20 finish date is 1 day only then it's the same date okay you write this one but if you say that okay we don't specify the exact date yet the task lasts 1 day นะครับ start day is day 1 finish day is day 1 too นะครับ this is start and finish date after that task duration นะครับ this one because start day is day 1 finish day is day 1 task duration is 1 นะครับ because it's just 1 day only the next thing นะครับ when we have the task box format already this is just for 1 task only if you have 10 tasks that means you need to have these 10 boxes นะครับ you need to have 10 boxes the next one นะครับ the next one after we have the task box already นะครับ what are main type of task patterns นะครับ we have dependent tasks multiple successor tasks and multiple predecessor tasks okay let me explain to you about this นะครับ so นะครับ for the dependent tasks นะครับ it means that these tasks need to have other tasks to depend on นะครับ for example in order to do task 2 you have to finish task A first นะครับ or in order to just like when we finish task task 1 นะครับ the task 2 will follow นะครับ so we have successor and predecessor tasks but successor and predecessor tasks we may have multiple successors and multiple predecessor tasks. For multiple successor tasks means a task that follows specific tasks นะครับ we can have like 3 different types. The first one, concurrent task. Concurrent task means the task that you have to do or you can do at the same time that that task is doing นะครับ For example, if we say that while the system analysts go to observe or go to interview นะครับ we can also let the programmers team to go for training นะครับ they don't have to wait. That is concurrent task you can do at the same time. Predecessor task. Predecessor task means that you need to have a task นะครับ that you have to be done ahead and must be completed before you can do this task. For example, if you have 2 tasks, the first task is interviewing. Second task is drawing DFD. You can see that drawing of the DFD cannot be done if you haven't finished interviewing your users yet. So that means task 2 นะครับ that is drawing DFD must be done after task 1 that is interviewing finish นะครับ that is predecessor task and successor task is the task that follows another task นะครับ so predecessor and successors go together. That means the interviewing task has a successor task that is drawing DFD นะครับ okay. Some tasks may have multiple predecessor tasks. For example, when you have to what to say start developing the program นะครับ you need to have the requirement นะครับ that is the program specification นะครับ and also all the programmer must pass their training for the new programming language already. So these are two predecessor tasks that you have to do before you can start developing the programs นะครับ This is what we call multiple predecessor นะครับ It depends on the nature of the project นะครับ After that, how do I identify task pattern นะครับ How do I identify task pattern? You can identify them by looking carefully at the wording of the task statement. The words like then, when, or, and are action words that give you the signal a sequence of events นะครับ whether they have to do together or whether you have to do this task after another task or you have to do that task before another task นะครับ then we use these words to explain. So how do I work with complex task pattern? When various task patterns combine, you must study the facts carefully in order to understand the logical sequence of these tasks นะครับ So how do I work with complex task pattern นะครับ You have to if you consider the following 3 fact statements and the task pattern they represent. The first one, you think of dependent tasks. That means a task that you have to just like work together or relate to each other. Dependent tasks and multiple successor tasks. Dependent tasks, multiple successor tasks, and multiple predecessor tasks. I explained these 3 kind of tasks นะครับ in the previous slide already นะครับ so you have to consider these 3 fact statements and then you just lay them นะครับ in the diagram. How can you do it นะครับ Let's see this one. Before we talk about critical path, let's have a look in here. You can see that in here we have altogether 5 tasks นะครับ We have 5 tasks altogether in this example นะครับ So you lay these tasks together นะครับ Normally we start from the leftmost นะครับ We start from the left hand side นะครับ The leftmost box normally it is task number 1 นะครับ You can see that it's the same in here. Task number 1 is here นะครับ So you can see that, okay, now we consider task 1 and task 2 first. Task 1 นะครับ is the predecessor task of task 2. Task 2 is the successor task of task 1 นะครับ between task 1 and task 2 นะครับ task 1 has just one successor task task 2 has just one predecessor task นะครับ okay so that means okay let's see the next one นะครับ when I talk about task 2 นะครับ after task 2 we have two tasks that links to task 2 นะครับ okay I'll just cut them to be like this task 2 task 3 and task 4 นะครับ task 2 is the predecessor of task 3 and task 4 task 3 has task 2 as its only predecessor task 4 has task 2 as the only predecessor while task number 2 has two successor tasks that are task 3 and task 4 นะครับ this is the way to understand this one that means before you can do task 3 นะครับ you have to finish task 2 first before you can do task 4 you have to do task 2 first นะครับ after we finish task 2 you have two tasks to do that are task 3 and task 4 last task นะครับ okay if we're talking about the task number 5 okay let's have a look นะครับ in the task number 5 if we talk about this okay I just cut them like this task number 5 has two predecessor tasks this is what we call multiple predecessor tasks นะครับ before we can do task number 5 we have to do task 3 and task 4 first นะครับ okay so these are predecessor and successor tasks now in this slide I want to talk about what we call critical path the term critical path is important นะครับ the term critical path is important what is it the critical path means that the longest time นะครับ that you have to spend นะครับ before นะครับ you can do another task the longest time that you have to do นะครับ before you can do another task let's say นะครับ how do we gonna consider after we lay all of the task information into the box format like this and we put all successor and predecessors by linking them by using the arrows like this already the next one is to calculate the critical path in order to talk about critical path we consider duration นะครับ of each task you can see that okay for task 1 to task 2 นะครับ it is single predecessor and single successor task that means you นะครับ is compulsory critical path okay Melin asked me that what is critical path critical path is the longest duration that you have to spend นะครับ for the way นะครับ that you go from the first task to the last task นะครับ I will explain to you by using this picture นะครับ okay so in this one นะครับ I write down the duration in the big text นะครับ so that you see the first task we have to spend 10 days second task 30 days task 3 5 days task 4 25 days and task 5 30 days okay critical path means the maximum day that you spend to just like do to complete this project นะครับ maximum time or maximum days that you use to complete this project นะครับ so what are we going to do firstly if it is the single predecessor and successor task like task 1 and task 2 like this นะครับ you have to just like go to task 1 นะครับ go to task 2 this is compulsory right because you can't avoid it before you do task 2 you have to complete task 1 after that นะครับ after that which one นะครับ between task 3 and task 4 which one is longer you choose that one you can see that task 3 is 5 days but task 4 is 25 days then you choose task 4 after that for task for the direction to go to the last task นะครับ on the right hand side this one when you go to task 4 already นะครับ task 5 is 30 days นะครับ it's the only way it's the only task that you have to do after task 4 that is task 5 so you can see that the critical path here it shows 1 2 4 5นะครับ task 1 task 2 task 4 task 5 what does it mean this one นะครับ if you add or if you sum the number of days that you spend in each task together this is the longest day that you will have to complete this project นะครับ so that one if I add 10 plus 30 plus 25 plus 30 ครับ this is the maximum number of day that is 95 days that means this is the maximum days that you have to spend นะครับ in order to complete this project so if you just see that what about the other way if we go to 1 and 2 and 3 and 5 will it longer than 95 days the answer is no if you sum them up 10 plus 30 plus 5 plus 30 it's just 75 days only it's shorter than 95 days so critical path is the path that gives you the maximum number of days to complete the whole project นะครับ so the critical path here is task 1 2 4 5 1 2 4 5นะครับ this term critical path means the list of the tasks that you have to go นะครับ is 1 2 4 5 give you or give us the critical path นะครับ okay so this one okay we will combine all the techniques นะครับ when we just like no more terms or no more wordings that we have to use in here นะครับ why do skip task 3 we don't skip ครับ but in critical part here task 3 นะครับ because it is the multiple successor of task 2 task 4 give you spend longer day then it is a part of the critical part in here นะครับ okay next นะครับ when you calculate the critical part first you have to review task pattern second step determine start and finish date which will determine critical part for the project นะครับ and then we have the slack time นะครับ when we talk about this นะครับ how to monitor and control นะครับthe reason is that when we create or when we just find the critical path already we will use the critical path in order to monitor and control tasks that means the total tasks นะครับ or the total days that you have to spend if you remember the critical path was around 95 days นะครับ that means the project must not be over 95 days นะครับ in total นะครับ to finish if you spend more than 95 days that is impossible because you spend the longest time for every single task for every path that you go already นะครับ you shouldn't go longer than that นะครับ the project manager must keep track of tasks and progress of team members compare actual with planned of the project verify completion of the project milestone and set the standards and ensure that they are followed นะครับ and then you have structured walkthrough นะครับ for like each task and you have to just like investigate that whether it's beyond the planned ones or not we call design reviews code review or testing reviews นะครับ you have to see every single step นะครับ so just a little bit more นะครับ if I just like talk about this one you can see that okay if I just see the detail in here I said that day 1 to day 10 day 11 to day 41 sorry yeah day 11 to day 40 นะครับ day 41 to day 45 this is day 41 to day 65 and lastly this is day 66 to day 95 like this so one thing that you have to know is that okay The reason why I tell you that we have to conduct the meeting frequently is because if you say that, okay, we conduct the meeting every week, so that means day 7, you know already that, okay, whether the person who is responsible for task number 1, will they be able to finish within another 3 days or not. Day 14, you conduct the meeting here. Day 21, day 28 นะครับ so this one we just slice the time and try to just like conduct the meeting so that we know how's going on for each task นะครับ whether it has any problem or not นะครับ okay now นะครับ when we just like do the monitoring and control นะครับ the next one is to maintain a schedule we maintain a project schedule นะครับ when we maintain it, it can be challenging tasks นะครับ we say that the better the original plan, the easier it will be to control the project นะครับ so we say that if enough milestone and frequent checkpoints exist, problem will be detected rapidly. That's why I told you that, okay, we should conduct the meeting frequently so that you know the problems and you can fix the problem rapidly นะครับ project managers นะครับ we say that, okay, they often spend most of their time tracking นะครับ along the critical path. When we do the report นะครับ the team members will have to prepare the progress report sent to the project manager. The project manager will have to collect, verify, organize, and evaluation the information นะครับ and then the project manager prepare the summary report to the management and to the users นะครับ for the report we do the project status report นะครับ we report regularly to the supervisor, upper management, and users and we should explain in the report นะครับ what you are doing and handling and monitoring the problem. Most of the manager they recognize the problem นะครับ that the problem do occur in most of the project. It's possible นะครับ it is better to alert the management sooner นะครับ rather than later so that they can fix and they can find a way to fix the problem นะครับ so in this one นะครับ in order to use the PERT and CPM นะครับ when we construct PERT or CPM chart นะครับ from the task list นะครับ we do in 2-step process. The first one, we create work breakdown structure and prepare the diagram like this นะครับ we prepare the diagram like this, fill up all the information. After that นะครับ we enter start and finish times นะครับ okay. So in order to do the project management นะครับ this is example of the open workbench นะครับ as open source software นะครับ when you use project management software we follow the same steps นะครับ step by step process to develop work breakdown structure and then we create many charts including Gantt chart, PERT and CPM chart นะครับ okay. so in this one นะครับ this one is called the project management. This one is called Gantt chart นะครับ this one is called Gantt chart. You can see that it has a list of information that we had before นะครับ task number, task name, duration นะครับ and predecessor task. So this one on the right hand side นะครับ is the bar to state the duration นะครับ. For example in here the main scale นะครับ of the time is weekly basis. Step 19 to step 26 is it's the weekly basis and the subscale is day นะครับ. So for example in here the task number 1 is review system request. This task lasts 3 days นะครับ you can see that if you see the bar นะครับ it's just like show the duration of 3 days in here นะครับ actually if you want to know the specified date นะครับ the specific date here you can see that นะครับ task number 1 start from September the 19th นะครับ Monday September the 19th 2011 to Wednesday September the 21st 2011 นะครับ if you use Microsoft Project software once you move the mouse pointer over the bar it shows the date นะครับ in this task นะครับ and also if you scroll นะครับ if you scroll to the right hand side นะครับ of the left screen you also see the start date and finish date as well this kind of software นะครับ can prepare the work breakdown structure for you as well นะครับ so for this one นะครับ we may use this kind of software นะครับ to prepare work breakdown structure to prepare Gantt chart to prepare network diagram นะครับ so the project planning here when we do like this it's a dynamic task นะครับ because there are like a lot of changes and constant change นะครับ the next thing that we have to know is what we call risk management นะครับ every IT project involve risks that system analysts and project managers must address step in risk management นะครับ we have to develop risk management plan and we identify the risk นะครับ like this นะครับ so in this one we may have to use the calculation for this one นะครับ for calculating the risk analysis นะครับ we analyze the risk by having like a couple of ideas qualitative risk analysis or quantitative risk analysis and after that you create a risk response plans and monitor the risks that may happen นะครับ so for the risk management software we may use this kind of software นะครับ for also manage the risk most of the project management software นะครับ at the current state they also include the powerful features for the risk management too so that the IT managers or the project manager can recommend the can just like prepare the risk management and if you are quite new to this industry นะครับ when you have to develop a project you may have to consult with the IT team of that department of that company or you may have to consult with the users นะครับ the key users may be able to tell us นะครับ it depending on the nature and the magnitude of the risk the final decision นะครับ you don't do it but the management you have to do you have to report them for the risk นะครับ that may happen how to manage the success of the company not the company how do we gonna manage the success of the project okay we have business issues that we have to consider นะครับ major objective of every system is to provide solution to a business problem นะครับ or opportunity system that fall short of business needs also produces problems for users and reduce employee morale and productivity that may cause the project creep นะครับ to be slow sometimes budget might be the issues as well because some of the project may have the cost overrun the cost overrun may be resulted from one or more of these following the first one if the project manager cannot estimate the task or project realistically นะครับ it may cause a problem because if you spend more time นะครับ for each task it may delay the whole project for example นะครับ นะครับ let me just like show you this one a bit more okay let's see this critical part the work breakdown structure a bit we said that the critical path is 1 2 4 5 that means each task นะครับ each task is critical task 1 and 2 and 4 and 5 they are critical task critical task means what means that you cannot delay that task because if you delay the task it makes the whole project to be delayed for example if we say that hire analyst นะครับ in task number 2 you plan that it should be 30 days but if it is 40 days what will happen it means that the whole duration will be 10 plus 40 plus 25 plus 30 that is 105 days instead of 95 days นะครับ because task 2 นะครับ is the critical task one of the critical tasks in the critical path here it means that that task you cannot be delayed นะครับ what about plan training this is non-critical task now that you set the time as due as 5 days if you spend 20 days what will happen if you spend 20 days you can see that when you compare with this one, 20 days here is still less than 25 days. So task ID 3 is not a part of the critical path anyway. Even you delay the plan training from 5 days to 20 days, it does not affect the whole project duration นะครับ the whole project duration is still the same because task 3 is not the critical path นะครับ okay so that's why if you don't plan for the realistic duration for each task, it may cause the project to be delayed